This is the Transformers Generations Studio Series number 71. Autobot Dino from Transformers Dark of the Moon. Surprise, surprise. You're probably wondering why I'm still reviewing a Bayverse Universe Transformers from the Studio Series line. I know I quit this line, but I just had to know what the hype was all about with this figure. So let's get him out of packaging. And here is Dino out of packaging. And I mean, the figure has a ton of flaws. Articulation is just sucky. He's not completely movie accurate. There's a ton of kibble, but I hate to say it, or I hate to admit it, this is probably the most decent, this is probably the best Dino figure we're going to get from the Bayverse movie line studio series from Hasbro or Takara Tomy. I mean, they've made attempts in the past by repainting sideways and all that. It's never come this close to a very good enough, semi-accurate Dino figure from the movie line or from the studio series. If you remember back in the movie, from Dark of the Moon. Look at that. Look at those crab-like, scorpion-like claws that he has. Now he's got these, they just feel like ninja blades protruding from his forearms. It should have extended a little bit further like that. I'm sure an upgrade kit is being done to replace that. I mean, look how streamlined the figure is. But in all fairness, it's really quite difficult to do that because there are a lot of car parts that in the movie they just melded or something like that. This one, it's very difficult to do. But suffice to say, after a long time of really lackluster outings from the studio series, this is probably the most decent figure we've gotten in a long time. Now, right off the bat, you will notice something quite unusual with my copy of Dino. Look at the spikes. Look at this one. This guy's smooth. He's got a tab right here. This one's got the tab right here, and it's smooth. And I realized that this was a factory error. When I opened the figure and I tried to put the blades onto his forearms, I realized there was something wrong because they're the same left hand blade. This should have been the right hand and the left hand, and as you can clearly see, it's the same piece. This should have been different. They should have be in a mirror image. The tab should have been right here on the other side, and gosh darn it, Hasbro. I mean, I was so happy I took it out of the packaging. I had a perfect looking figure. No scuffing, no paint issues, no loose joints. All the joints were tight except for one piece. I'm going to talk about that later. But everything was tight, no missing pieces, and then this happens. Oh my goodness. It's just my bad luck. I can't win. I honestly cannot win with Hasbro. I knew I shouldn't have picked up this figure because I quit the line and I wanted to give it a shot. And this is how Hasbro rewards me, by giving me yet another quality control issue. I mean, how difficult is it? There is an inscription that says R2. Should have been here is R1. Right there, R2. The one that you should have put here is R1. Oh my goodness. How difficult is it to do this? So, I don't know. I'm going to message the shop, Hobby Corner, where I bought this figure from, and hopefully they can replace it if they still have stock. But I kind of heard it was sold out. So, good luck. Good luck getting another replacement, right? It sucks because the figure is gosh darn perfect. And look how nice the plastic they used for it. Hardly any scuffing. And I'm so glad they did not use the matte version of this red plastic. And they used the glossy version. The paint apps are great. Paint on the head sculpt is absolutely spot on. The chest, abdomen, looking great. There's nothing to complain about the actual robot that I got. Okay, now articulation isn't as great because the shoulder is hindering a lot of the shoulder movement. You have to position it in such a way that the this fender or the headlamps, they actually clear this back part, so it's great. Head is on a ball joint, shoulders are on a ball joint. There is a bicep swivel, but it only goes one way because of transformation, and as such it's so hard to position the arm to do that, to do this kind of posing and making him like put out his claws or his blades. It's so hard to, I mean, I can't. I don't think it will. It's just not supposed to. So that sucks. Elbows are on a double hinge because of transformation. There's a swivel wrist. No waist articulation. That really bummed me out. Hips are on ball joints. There's thigh swivel right here because of transformation. Hinge knees. And the knees just bend like 90 degrees. I wish they would have made it more than 90 degrees. And there's hardly any position, any pose you can do except his crouching position, like Autobots, meet Dino. I mean, that's the only thing he can do. He can do that bicep curling, arm curling position like that. Like, I mean, so articulation and posability isn't my favorite from this figure. And yet, I am somehow admiring this figure for what it is. The sculpt, despite a ton of kibble, is a very good representation of how we saw Dino on the show. I mean, that's as close as we're gonna get. This is the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen, I think the Walmart exclusive, Bumblebee. And look at it, he's like a scout class compared to the deluxe class. That's how small this figure is. Okay, so let's transform him. I'm going to do my best. Despite being the same pieces, it doesn't quite affect transformation. It just tucks in underneath the ceiling and the windshield. So I've tried it several times. I don't think it interferes with it. It just sucks because there's no symmetry, because you're actually seeing the same piece. So transform him, rotate the wrists like this. It'll save you some trouble doing it later. Rotate the biceps like that. Okay, and then fold out these side parts of the door. You want to detach that front part of the torso, fold up that neck just like that. These are supposed to be based on the images, are supposed to be the side mirrors, but the side mirrors are right here, so more faux. This is supposed to be the front part of the car. A lot of faux pieces, but this is a Studio Series figure, so what do you expect? Like untab here. And I love the fact that the whole back part, the trunk, the ceiling, the roof, the windshield, they all crumple and collapse and compress nicely on his back, something which a lot of the Bumblebee figures have not been able to do for the Studio Series. So this is a big, giant step forward for Studio Series figures with this type of compression. So kudos to Hasbro and Takara Tomy for doing that. Okay, fold this like this, and then this piece right here, this loves to tab off. It was gonna fly off as we transform him, so you gotta excuse me for that. Okay, rotate that roof or the bonnet. Okay, and then the arms are just gonna go like this. Okay, now at this point in time, it's best if you plug in the blades. Now plug them all the way in. I was afraid that you would have to tab something on those tabs right there, and because they're the same piece, I mean, it sucks, right? It's the same piece. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to do that, but it doesn't really hinder anything. So the head will just go in like that, so it's fine. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to fold in the shoulders like this, and then make sure this thing doesn't fly out. Just tab it in like that. This thing just loves to fly off. Okay, and then bend that hinge on the bicep, and then there's a tab underneath that elbow, and then you're just gonna sort of squeeze it in and tab it in right there. Hold on. Is it there? Oh, okay. It's right here. Okay, there we go. And tab it in, and then tab the fists together, and just make sure that there's enough space for this piece right here to go in between the blades, and just like that. Front part of the car is done. Okay, the transformation is actually quite straightforward. I was surprised It wasn't as difficult or cumbersome as I thought it would be. So pull out these fenders right here on his thighs, rotate that hinge right there. Go ahead and fold this up, fold down the feet like that, fold up the feet, and then just kind of snug. It's kind of snug space, but you got to put it right there. And then this piece, back piece right here, I'm gonna fold it like this, rotate, and just fold that rear bumper and tab it onto the side of his hips. Okay, all right, and right now you can already see where this thing is going. Just make sure everything's flush like that. Okay, and then the doors have a hole right there. Yeah, there's a hole right there. They're gonna tab into that teeny tiny peg right there on his ankles, just like that. Okay, and then the doors, they're gonna slide in like that, and then tab in right here. Same on the other side. It's gonna slide in like that, and tab in like that. Just make sure everything's neat and tidy. Okay, and there you go. There is Dino in his sort of Ferrari-ish type of alt mode, and surprisingly, what saves this figure for me is this amazing alt mode. And the thing will roll. I'm just not, I don't know why it's not a clearance. There's no clearance issue. There is a 1 to 2 millimeter gap from the chest and the feet, and it will clear the floor. What's really slowing down the wheels is the fender right here and right here. The wheels are actually scraping onto these plastic pieces. These back wheels are fine, but this one, yep, you can clearly see right there, they're kind of scraping that. So if you could just fold this front part just a little bit forward, okay, without untabbing these, just a little bit forward, you can have those wheels clear the fender, and he should be able to roll properly. So yeah. Autobots, roll out! And the dreads. And for some size comparisons, here is Dino with a regular size deluxe class Generations figure. You got spin out right here, and he's actually a decent sized car. He is just 3 millimeters shy in terms of length with spin out, and in terms of the width, about the same, about 4 millimeters thinner than spin out. So yeah, it's a decent sized alt mode, and this is what's really saving this figure for me, and I'm so glad that it's got a great alt mode. So after all that I've said about the shortcomings of the robot mode, the alt mode really saves this figure for me. And look at that, look how great it is. It's not a perfect rendition of Ferrari. The Ferrari, I forgot what kind of Ferrari they used for the movie, but it has all the elements of that car, just sort of like secretly or very surreptitiously added onto the alt mode, and then suddenly they change a lot of the parts just so that they won't get sued by Mattel or something like that. And so some final thoughts on the Dino. This pose really sums up how I feel about this figure. The robot mode is a little bit frustrating. It completely sucks that I have to suffer this perpetual bad luck with the quality issues from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. You pay so much for the figure, and I kind of regret now actually buying this figure. The saving grace, I think, of this figure is his incredible alt mode. Despite not being an actual Ferrari, it's sort of like a Ferrari, but it saved the whole figure for me. This figure is a solid 8 out of 10. I think this is a perhaps one of the more decent figures we've had in the Studio Series line. It is perhaps the closest representation we're ever going to get of Dino from the movie. If you are a big fan of the Studio Series and you loved Dino in Dark of the Moon, you're going to want this figure. Let me know in the comment section what you think of Studio Series Dino. Do you think I made the right decision of getting it? What do you think of my perpetual bad luck? Do you think this figure deserves a better grade than I gave, or do you think I'm too kind to this figure? Let me know in the comment section what you think, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. If you want to help the channel out, please check out my Patreon account. There is a link in the description box below. Thanks for watching.